Hey y'all, it's Robin. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing my winter TBR, which feels wild. My winter TBR was one of my first seasonal TBRs that I did on this channel, and it just feels so crazy that we are coming around to like a whole new year. It's just crazy to me. But I really love doing these seasonal TBRs, so I do plan to continue them into 2023. This season's round is going to be a little bit different because I actually have 12 books on this TBR. So let's get right into what I hope to read over the next 3 months or so. So first of all, there aren't exactly 12 books on this list. In fact, quite a lot more than 12 books on this list because some of these are categories you'll kind of see as I go along. But the first one is a reread and its sequel, and that is A King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair, as well as the sequel, which is Queen of Myth and Monsters. And I don't know what I got this book in, but apparently I have a signed book plate. So confused right now. But I am really excited for the sequel to this. I talked about this in my December releases video. The series is a really over-the-top, steamy vampire romance that I have really enjoyed. I've had a good time with it. This is I've talked about this as well, but this is in the same vein as the Nikki St. Crow, the Never King series, where you know the whole time that you're reading that this isn't like the best book that's ever been written, but it's so addicting and so much fun to read. So I'm going to reread a book one and then go into a book two. I have no idea how many books are in the series, but for these types of books, I really do like to reread the series before going into the sequel, just because there's usually a lot of things that I've forgotten, especially since there are a lot of books similar to this. I don't want to get any of those other books confused with this one when I go into the sequel. After that is another sequel, and that is Back in a Spell by Lana Harper, and this is the third book in the, I don't know the name of this series. This is book 3. I believe this one is following another one of like the big 3 families, and they are falling in love with the non-binary waiter from one of the restaurants. And the love interest, I believe, doesn't have magic, but for some reason, once they start dating, they start developing magical abilities, and I think that is kind of what they're trying to figure out, how they are gaining magical abilities even though these two aren't married. And so I'm assuming it's some sort of like, not quite fated mates, but something along those lines. I've really enjoyed this series. The series has an amazing small town vibe, and I really love all of the family interactions and things in here. I really loved book 2, so I'm excited to give this next one a read. After that is one of my most anticipated books. It actually might currently be my most anticipated book for all of 2023, and it is coming up on a bunch of like most anticipated 5-star. Actually, you may have already seen it. I don't remember the order of any of these videos, but that is Manic by Onley James. I am so excited for this book. I have been waiting since book 1 of the series. It's finally almost here, and I cannot wait to have it in my hands so that I can read it. I am part of Onley James's Patreon. I get an early copy of this like a week or so before it goes live, and I will 100% be reading it the second that it drops onto my Kindle. I cannot wait. This is Thomas and Aiden's romance. Onley James has been posting little like unedited chapters of this book as she's been writing them, and I have been trying so hard not to read them because I don't want to read them one chapter at a time. I want to be able to consume it all at once. I'm considering rereading the whole series, but I haven't decided if I want to do it before or after I read this one, so we'll see. After that is another one that I haven't decided if I'm going to reread the series. So The Ruined by Renee Ahdieh is the next book on my official TBR. It is the 4th and final book in the Beautiful Quartet. Historically, as I've been going through this, I'm rereading them all, so I've read The Beautiful 3 times, and I am considering rereading them all again. I adore this series. I know when The Beautiful came out, like it was super hyped, and everyone was so excited for it, and then everyone felt terribly disappointed in it, and I disagree. I do not understand. I love this series. This is probably one of my favorite YA series like of all time. I'm obsessed with it. And every time I reread it, I keep thinking like I'm going to get that feeling of disappointment that everyone else does, and it never happens. I love it so much. So this is possibly going to be a whole reread leading up to The Ruined, but I'm only putting The Ruined on here just because I haven't 100% decided if I'm going to reread the series. Most likely I will. I own all of these on audiobook just because I do reread them. And next up is another like really highly anticipated release for me, and that is Something Wild and Wonderful by Anita Kelly. This is a follow-up to Love and Other Disasters, which I absolutely love. I ended up giving that book 5 stars when I read it earlier this year, and I am so excited to get more from this author. This is a MM romance that I actually don't know anything about. I've never read the synopsis. I believe it's a road trip romance if I am remembering correctly, but I kind of don't want to read the synopsis of this one before I go in. I talk about this a lot, but I do not like road trip romances usually. However, I also don't like baking competition romances, and Anita Kelly's first book was a baking competition. And so even though this has a trope that I don't normally love, I 100% trust Anita Kelly to deliver. Another sequel on this list is A Sinister Revenge by Deanna Raybourn. This is book, oh god, what, 5, 6, 7, book 8 in the Veronica Speedwell series. It is my favorite historical series of all time. I'm going to cry, I think, when the last book in the series is released, because I would read Veronica and Stoker books forever, for all time, continuously until eternity. I love these characters so much. I love these mysteries. Deanna Raybourn just does such a good job with these mysteries, and I have such a good time while reading them. I, again, don't know what this one is about because all of these are like little standalone mysteries, but they're following the same characters. So I don't typically read the synopses for these ones just because I do want to go in without like preconceived notions about the mystery, since I already know that I love these characters in this world and this writing. After that, I have From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. I think I talked about this in my December TBR, maybe. I can't remember anymore. This is one of the Mariana Zapata books that I have been holding onto for winter. I said this earlier, but I'm a very seasonal reader, and because of that, this book just screams winter to me, and the thought of reading this in June just felt completely unacceptable. So I've been holding on to this for the winter months, and so now is the time. All I know about this is that it is a really, really slow burn enemies to lovers romance with 2 ice skaters who are paired up for kind of like their last chance at the Olympics. I'm ready for the slow burn. I do love her books on audio, so most likely I will try to find this on audio. And then after that, we have another like combination, and that is the remaining books in season 1 of Criminal Intentions by Cole McCade. I have talked about this all the time on my channel lately. I feel like in every single video that I film, I bring up this series at some point. So if you've been watching my channel for a minute, you know what the series is about. If not, I'm here to tell you about how awesome the Criminal Intention series is. This is following 2 male detectives who are teamed up in a book 1 kind of reluctantly because they both prefer to work alone. They end up forming this tenuous friendship and eventually a very, very slow burn romance. And each book is its own standalone mystery, which, in case you can't tell, I really love. The series reads very episodic, but there is a lot of overarching stories and relationships and things like that throughout the series. So you cannot read these out of order. And so I really want to finish up season 1 so that I can prioritize season 2 in 2023. This is another one that I just want endless books from. And I know Cole McCade has slowed down on releasing these, and I need 100 more of them because I don't ever want this to end. Next up is a KU book that released in November, and I just haven't been able to get to it, and that is What Was Meant to Be by QB Tyler. This is QB Tyler's newest forbidden romance. I have read a couple of her books, and I just love how far she goes with like the cheating and taboo-ness of her books. And I love a good love triangle and cheating romance, and that's exactly what this is. In this one, we're following a heroine who is like reconnecting with her like first love or the love of her life, and she is now engaged to somebody else, and it is a love triangle between the 3 of them. I know that there is cheating in this book, so just know that if you're interested in picking this one up. It doesn't bother me in any way, but I know that is something that a lot of readers don't like. I love QB Tyler's writing. I love how angsty her romances are, and I really want to get to this one. I wanted to get to it earlier. I just haven't been able to fit it in, and now is the perfect time. Another like combo one is the last books in A Tale of Two Cities by Alexandra Warren. I have the Christmas novella, the New Year's Eve novella, and the Valentine's Day novella. I don't know if there's going to be any more in this or if it's just these 5, but these are the last 3 that I personally have, and I really want to read them. So I've read the first 2, which was the Halloween and the Thanksgiving one, and I loved them. And so I'm really excited to read more books in the series. These are just really short, swoony novellas, and the kind of like connecting factor of all of these books is that all of the characters' names are cities. I don't know the synopses for any of these outside of the fact that they take place over the holiday season. I don't know who these follow or anything like that, but I do want to finish out this series just because I have enjoyed them and I'm really excited to read more of her books. Then we have The Husband Hoax by Saxon James, and this is a start of a new series from Saxon James. As far as I can tell, it is not tied to any of her other series. I know Saxon James has kind of like a big world and a lot of her series overlap and things like that. I don't know if that is the case with this one, but it does look to be the start of a new series. And this is an fake engagement or marriage of convenience, I guess. So it sounds like one of the heroes needs to get married in order to get an inheritance, which is a pretty like common romance trope, but I really like Saxon James's romances, and so I am interested to get a queer take on this trope, and I am excited for a new series of hers because I read her frat series, I can't remember what it's called, but I really loved that one, and so I want a new series of hers. And then the final book on the TBR is another one that I'm not going to commit to all 4 of the books, but it's Ignite by Melanie Harlow. This is book 7 or book 1 in the new series of Cloverleaf Farms. So there were 6 books in the original Cloverleaf Farms, and then this is kind of like the generation 2. And so Ignite is book 1 in like the second generation. And I desperately want to read Tempt because it is an ex-boyfriend's dad romance, which might be my favorite romance trope ever. And so I really want to read that one, but I do want to read these in order just because I read the Cloverleaf Farms in order, and I like getting to know the characters in that way through this type of series. And so I really want to read these in order. So I'm putting Ignite on the TBR in hopes that it will get me like rolling on catching up with the series so that I can get to Tempt, but I'm not going to commit to reading 4 of those books just because I do have arcs and stuff like other commitments for the winter months, so I'm not going to commit to that. But I do at least want to start making headway on this just because I do love this series and this world and this author. I want to catch back up in the Cloverleaf Farm series. So that is all 12 books on my winter TBR. Let me know if you are making seasonal TBRs. Let me know if there is a book on this TBR that I should prioritize and like get to first. I do have a playlist of all of my previous seasonal TBRs and wrap-ups, which I will link up in the cards and down below. And like I said, I will be continuing this series into 2023. So stay tuned for a wrap-up of what I read and how I rate them and all of that. So thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you all in my next video. Bye!